Hey guys, so I recently picked up one of these little USB laser engravers off Amazon. I had some ideas of how I could use one to create paint masks for my customs. The device cuts or burns different materials. It can cut paper and burn things like cardboard and some plastics. It has no effect on metal or glass. It has a very limited work area, about 3 inches by 3 inches. This limits what you can use this device for. However, in the world of customizing 1/64 die-cast, it's the perfect size. My desire for this device is to be able to create graphics on the cars by cutting masks that I can apply to the car and then paint over and then remove. This device has no trouble doing this, and I'll show you in this video how I go about this process. The laser ships with everything you need, the software, the drivers, and the cords. You set the laser up the same way you would set up a printer. Install the drivers, and then plug the laser into the computer. The computer will then discover and install the drivers for the laser. Once that's all done, you're ready to go. You can run the included software. In my case, I'm running it on an old XP laptop. This is because the software that is shipped with the device sets off virus protection software as a Trojan. Using this old air-gapped laptop, I'm not worried about the program phoning home, just in case it is a virus. The manufacturer swears up and down that it is not a virus, and the software runs great, and I have no evidence that it acts at all like a virus. The software itself is extremely simple. Once open, you drag and drop black and white images to the program image viewer. The images can't be larger than 512 pixels on any given side. I use Photoshop to edit down the images I find on the internet to be used on the device. Once the image is in the program, you are allowed a few more options. The main one is to reduce the image. Once the image is reduced to the size you want, you send the image to the engraver. It takes a few seconds for the image to upload, but once it's done, you are ready to go. Since the image is in the engraver memory and ready to print, I need to give the laser something to actually cut. I have played around with several materials, but I find that this yellow frogs tape to be the best for what I'm doing. I need a backing for the tape while it's being cut, and for that I'm using aluminum or aluminium foil. This is for several reasons that I will discuss in more detail later, but the main reason right now is that the laser cannot cut through the foil. I will cut a small strip of the masking tape and then apply it to the foil. I will then take a black Sharpie marker and mark the area I plan to cut. The reason I have to use the marker has to do with the way that light reflects and gets absorbed by different colors. Black absorbs all colors, so the areas in black will be easier for the laser to cut. In fact, not having the Sharpie marks will cause the laser not to cut through the tape in certain areas. Attaching the foil to the bed of the engraver can be done with the 2 small rubber bands, or you can tape the foil to the bed if you like. Once everything is set, you can give the commands from the program to move the laser to the center of the tape. The laser will also provide a preview of sorts by moving the laser in a square outline of the dimensions, the largest dimensions of the print you're trying to cut. If the outline is too large or too small, you can resize the image and preview again. Once you're happy with the placement, you can hit the start button and the laser will begin cutting. Cutting is probably the wrong word here, more like burning off the paper in the masking tape. You're watching the laser work through the camera right now, but I hope I don't need to tell you that you should never watch this laser with your bare eyes. The laser is so bright the camera is having issues recording it, and I'm only running it at 1/4 power. To actually see what is going on, I can place a filter over the lens of the camera to help dial back some of the brightness. You will see that the laser is working just like a normal printer. I was originally very skeptical that this would be a very accurate way of cutting something with a laser. I sort of had it in my mind that it would be more like a plotter. However, my skepticism has departed as the laser has no issue cutting in this manner. After the engraver is done, you can pull off the tape and foil and see how the print turned out. If it was done properly, you should be left with a shiny image looking back at you. So now that we know how to use the printer, let's take a look at how to use these masks on an actual car. I want to paint some flames on a car, something masks are used for a lot. So I found some flame images online and then printed them out. I photoshopped the images so that the laser only cut the detailed parts of the flames, but did not have it cut large blank areas, as I could just remove the tape from those areas. Now, one problem you're going to encounter is the fact that the laser has no issue burning off the paper in the masking tape, but it can't burn off the film that the tape uses to make it stick to things. So I need to remove this film before I can use this print. To do this, I use lighter fluid and a brush. I apply the lighter fluid to the tape and foil and use a brush to wash away the sticky film. I will rinse and repeat several times until the image and cut lines are clean, and then use a paper towel to dry off the print. If the image you printed is not too detailed, you can peel the mask off and place it on the car. However, if you have a lot of detail in the print, you'll need to use some transfer tape to keep all the detail where it's supposed to be. You can buy transfer tape online, but I find that using Frisket masking film works great. The film comes in large sheets and can be purchased at most hobby stores that sell airbrush supplies. The transfer tape needs to have a low tackiness for it to work as a transfer tape. Using something like Scotch tape is way too sticky and will make transfer a pain. The transfer tape is only there to hold the detail in place. This Frisket does just that. It probably goes without saying, but the transfer tape must also be transparent so you can see where you're placing the mask. Once the transfer tape has been applied over the print, you can turn the print over and begin to peel off the foil. Another reason I like using foil is that removing the masking tape from the foil, the tape cannot take any of the foil up with it like if you're using a piece of paper. Try to pull the foil off as close to the masking tape as possible. If you try to pull off the foil at, say, a 90-degree angle to the masking tape, you'll be putting the foil under a lot of strain and will probably cause it to tear. With the foil removed, the mask can now be applied to the car. Here a Hudson Hornet painted silver. Lining up the mask can be a trick, but removing and replacing the mask is pretty simple. Once the mask is in place, apply pressure to each part of it, especially small details. Since the car hood is not a flat surface, you may need a burnishing tool or a fingernail to push the mask into corners and crevices. Once the mask is in place, you can peel off the transfer tape and check that none of the mask was lifted off with the tape. If done correctly, your mask should be set. Once the car is masked off, it's time to paint. I decided to go with a red Spectraflame for this particular model. Once the car is painted, you can begin to remove the mask, taking care in the direction you pull them off. I find that removing the mask while the paint is still wet gives the best results. Hopefully if everything went well, you'll get nice clean lines and no runs. This model came out really well, other than a few specks of dust I'll need to sand out and polish later. One other thing you can do with these masks is to do multicolored graphics. These are done by adding back and removing different masking elements. Here I'm attempting to place a number 8 in a white circle with a black border around it. This graphic has two colors, and I started with painting the circle white and then adding the masking back in to cover the white and paint the number 8 and border black. I'm not going to go into a lot of detail here as I haven't worked out all the kinks yet. I really should have used some registration marks on the mask to make it so that I could have taken the mask apart and put it back together with greater ease. I did achieve the final product, but it doesn't look all that good on close inspection. So expect a future video on this once I get everything worked out. So at this point I've made a couple customs using this technique with reasonable success. Some of the issues I've encountered have to do with getting the sticky film out of areas of high detail. For example, the tips of flames. For most things I've tried it on, it has not been that much of a problem. I can see myself using this on future Mad Max customs to make bullet holes and cracked windows. If you're someone who prints off your own decals, then you might like this for some of the more simplistic graphics. Certainly this will not replace making your own decals, but for a quick flame job or single color logo, it can't be beat. If you're wondering, yes, you can actually put the masking tape on the car and then cut it with a laser and save a step. Of course, this will only work on flat surfaces of the car, like the hood and the roof. The major problem I had doing this was lining up the car and the device. Since you can't really see the image on the car until after it prints, you may find yourself making a lot of mistakes. If you have any other ideas on how this can be used, then please let me know below. Also, if you have any questions, please feel free to ask. I will leave a link below in the video description for the laser that I bought, if you're interested in checking it out. As always, thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.